Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
America is in a crisis situation right now. And during the months and years ahead, we are all going to see things we never thought possible in our country. And unfortunately, the majority of the population is totally unprepared for what is about to happen. Now, I'm talking about the attempted globalist takeover of our country. This is a plan to divide and conquer America. And so far, it is working. Right now, the global banking cartels and the UN are using a wave of Islamic migrants to completely destroy the sovereignty of Western nations. We've all seen what's been going on in Europe with the migrant crisis, engineered, by the way, by the globalists. And guess what? We're next. Because George Soros, public enemy number one, and perhaps the best-known New World Order globalist, says Europe's refugee crisis should be accepted as the new normal. And that means new opportunities for Soros organizations and the UN to influence immigration policies on a global scale. Meanwhile, it's no secret that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton both want to dramatically increase illegal immigration into America. In fact, Hillary wants to allow Syrian refugees in numbers far greater than Obama ever dreamed of. I mean, we're talking on the same level or on the same scale as Europe or worse. And it's no secret that George Soros is one of Hillary's biggest campaign donors. This guy is dumping millions and millions of dollars into Hillary's campaign. And if their plan goes into effect and succeeds, you will no longer recognize this country. America as you know it, over, gone. In fact, the most likely outcome of a migrant crisis, of race riots and open borders is civil war, because the globalists want to burn this baby to the ground.
Well, the police chief has come out and pointed out that the problem the last 3 nights in Milwaukee, after a black police officer shot a black armed man with a felony record, was stirred up by the Communist Party that had been brought in from Chicago. And that is what we experience basically every single time. Now, I want to be clear here. This is not about a referendum on the police. It's not about saying the police are perfect or there aren't bad cops or legislatures aren't passing bad laws that are unconstitutional and putting police officers in an unconstitutional role. I have big issues with it and always have, but I'm not mentally ill. If a bad cop does something somewhere else and then someone randomly shoots another cop, that's called craziness. And we have globalists trying to destabilize this country and other countries, and we have their own emails and their own battle plans. But I don't need a Soros hack. The UN admits they're doing this. The UN, the State Department admits they spent $5 billion starting 6 years ago to overthrow Ukraine, overthrow an elected government. And they started it talking about police brutality and using cases in the media that Soros and others were funding to make the police emblematic of the evil government. And the government was doing some bad stuff. And the police had done some bad things. But the point is, foreign outside interest came in and stirred it all up to get a shooting war going. Now, shooting wars are bad for business, bad for kids going to school, bad for stock markets. See, we got a big, wealthy country. It's got problems. But we sure don't need to burn it all down, do we, to fix the problem? No. And by the way, if poor people get induced by an evil mastermind to burn down their own neighborhoods, that doesn't help them, does it? I'm going to end up being just fine because I'm a wise person. I know how things work. I've made preparations. So if I disliked people in the inner city, I'd be like George Soros, inducing them with change agents on the ground, foundation funded, to burn this baby to the ground. It's such a sick joke.
So there you go. George Soros is not only funding the migration crisis in Europe, but he's also the money man who's responsible for the destabilization program here in America. And with us now is Margaret Howell, Infowars reporter, and she's going to shed some light on the Soros plan to influence global immigration now. We're talking global immigration, not just Europe, but also here in the United States. And you have some leaked memos you want to talk about.
I sure do, Darren. So this crisis, this immigration crisis, he wants to capitalize on it, make it the new norm, if you will. And it's about stemming the reaction to the crisis. They want it so normal that we don't even react, we don't blink an eye, so that this agenda can be furthered. It also goes much deeper than I thought. Media manipulation, cash for social justice causes. So anybody that's willing to attack somebody who says the word radical Islam, for example, calling them Islamophobic, he's pouring money into these groups and counteracting people like Pamela Geller, for example, David Horowitz. There's a list of people, the Middle East Forum, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He's attacking certain groups that dare say radical Islam is radical Islam and question the immigration policies that we have.
Okay, and these are also talking points that he wants his organizations and people that he's funding to use, talking points, bullet points, and basically the mainstream media to follow along these lines as well.
Right, exactly. Right. So we know that he's a big contributor to Hillary Clinton. We know that groups like Southern Poverty Law is a big recipient of Soros and his money. So looking at what they're doing and how they're trying to frame the narrative so that we go along with it, it becomes our new norm, and our borders, they collapse, and then mass immigration will follow. We know that Hillary Clinton, she said on Face the Nation that we're not doing our part, that we have to assume more responsibility for Syrian refugees. There's one report, Darren, that says that she would take upwards of 400,000 if she's president.
This is going to be nowhere near what Obama let in. I mean, the next phase is to really, this will be a tsunami of Syrian refugees, and they want open borders. You know, it's funny, you're talking about George Soros, you named the Southern Poverty Law Center, but think about the groups that he funds. Communist revolutionary groups here in the United States, La Raza, okay?
We've
Southern
got them,
Poverty Law Center.
500,000 this year alone. You're absolutely right. That's one of he's on the hit list of this exposed organization.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that makes me so
it's fine. And like I said, the list goes on and on. But these are all anti-American type of groups. And it's not like he doesn't care about Muslims and Muslim Brotherhood, and he doesn't care about La Raza. What he cares about is destabilization, right? He wants to destabilize this country. That's what this is all about.
Any pundit that uses the word, any political pundit, Liz Cheney's even on this list. That surprised me that they're keeping track of their activities because they're the most prominent drivers of Islamophobia. So, Trump's speech today, it was really brilliant, Darren. I just want to touch on it because he says that combating the ideology is what he's trying to do now. And he said that exposing radical Islam for what it is was a central part of his message, just like in World War II, communism was exposed. And that seems to be, he seems to be at the forefront at countering this. I can only imagine Soros's hit list.
Well, it's definitely going to include Donald Trump, so absolutely. But, you know, we all know from intelligence reports, intelligence agencies across the board, including Donald Trump, they all agree that the Syrian refugee crisis will be a Trojan horse. That's how they're going to infiltrate the Syrian refugees. That's how ISIS is going to come in here and attack America. And they're even saying it could be like a Tet offensive style attack. We know also from intelligence reports, they're already here. Okay, they're active cells in this country. So it's just crazy to think that the more they're just going to allow more and more refugees to come in.
It's almost like they know there's a sinister plot. We want our government to fall. I mean, that seems like where we're headed in this because we need a global governance. We need a new world order. We need chaos to do that. So
okay, that's exactly it. It's order out of chaos. They destabilize the region just like they've done other countries, and now the United States walks in, or our global government walks in to establish order out of chaos here in America.
It's amazing. And the Trojan horse analogy, you know, that's probably the best analogy I've ever heard to sum up this crisis. So you have people and this leaked memo, the refugee crisis, and the fear that the interest of migrants fleeing poverty, climate change, generalized violence, violence and disaster. They want to push this as you know, a humanitarian issue, as a cause, and if you don't go along with it, you're Islamophobic, you're racist. But in reality, you know, we're talking about mass unvetted migrants. And we covered Calais yesterday, you know, 9,000 in one specific camp, and they said, look, we know that ISIS and jihadis have infiltrated this camp. There's nothing we can do. It's about containment at this point. And that's where we are, Darren. We're where France was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. We're right on the cusp of this. And that's why this election is so crucial. We need to look at who is funding her, and somebody who wants this mass immigration, just like they saw in Western Europe. That's what the agenda is for us. That's it.
And the more people learn about George Soros, the more they learn about Hillary Clinton. And it's imperative that we send that message. Look, I want to go over some headlines. This is just a small example of what's going on right now, but I'm going to go over some headlines. Donald Trump, Hillary's plan for more illegal immigration is a disaster for our country. And here's a headline from the Washington Examiner. Hillary drafts illegal dreamers to get immigrants to vote. Hillary Clinton's campaign on Sunday announced a program to recruit undocumented dreamers into a voter registration army, even though they are not allowed to vote. I mean, it's totally illegal and unconstitutional, but we all know that Hillary is above the law. Hillary Clinton promises to give illegal immigrants more tax money, yet another incentive to illegally enter the U.S. Trump says Hillary wants to be America's Angela Merkel. A Hillary Clinton presidency would set America on course for a migrant crisis like the one destroying Germany. Again, this is a destabilization program by design. This is not an accident. It is part of the global takeover. Shocker, UN admits migrant crisis plan to overthrow the West. This is the game plan to overthrow our civilization. Y'all need to wake up. This is the end game right here. America accepts 6 times more migrants than all other Latin American countries combined. And as you were saying, they're just getting started.
Right. We've talked about how rigged this system is, and, you know, Hillary Clinton being admittedly saying that she's going after these 730,000 dreamers that can't legally vote. That tells me, Darren, that she's scared. She's going to need some people that can't even legally vote in this country if she can't rig the system. That's what that says to me. That headline in the Washington Times yesterday, it was so astounding. It's like, do people realize what this woman is doing?
Well, I always said that as long as they convince the American public that it's neck and neck, it's 50-50, then they're more likely to accept if she wins and steals the election.
Right.
But now they're even going a step further. Like I've heard the New York Times and other analysts are saying that Hillary is winning by a landslide right now. So it's like George Orwell's 1984. I don't believe that for a minute. I mean, when's the last time you've seen Hillary for prison? You see lots of those bumper stickers, but never Hillary for president.
You look at places like Scranton, Pennsylvania, where Hillary will go and then Trump will go, and you'll see a Trump rally, and she can barely pack the first floor. And then you look at the same stadium where Trump speaks a few days later, or sometimes, the very next day, and it is so massively packed. You wonder, what polls are they doing?
Well, and now the mainstream media is even going as far as photoshopping Hillary Clinton rallies, and we've seen evidence of that. And they're also saying that Trump rallies have low outcome because they're taking pictures of Trump rallies hours before everybody shows up. So they're really definitely trying to
manipulate the view.
Manipulate. That's why they call it television programming.
That's it.
That's right. So it's very important that you all turn off your televisions every once in a while. Do your own research on the internet. Find out all about George Soros. I mean, he's an open book. I mean, the information is there. This guy is not only behind the Muslim immigration crisis. Margaret was just talking about how he's behind the Southern Poverty Law Center. You need to look into those guys. He's funding communist revolutionaries in America. He's funding La Raza, and he's funding Black Lives Matter. That's right. The BLM is funded by a rich old white guy. And for those of you who support Black Lives Matter, you've been had, right? You got duped. And, that's the thing is a lot of people don't understand this. And if they just knew all of this together, again, I keep saying it again and again, it is to divide and conquer the nation. As long as, united we stand, divided we fall. What does America look like if, God forbid, Hillary Clinton becomes president?
Well, you know, going on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon here for a second, the media manipulation of what's happening on the ground there, even coming out of Milwaukee, we covered it today, where an outright lie was told, video was manipulated so poorly that it changed the outcome of the story. And if we continue to see this, Darren, if we continue to see the country ripped apart by this race war that the only thing the mainstream media wants to cover, you know, it's done two things. It distracts us from what's actually happening in major issues. That's the first thing. And the second thing it does is that it requires that we have a force greater than ourselves to come in and manage us because we're just so torn apart. And I really hate to see the manipulation aspect of this. People need to wake up. The internet searching is key. You know, I've been doing that all afternoon, looking at things about George Soros, and I've got to tell you, it's out there if you look for it.
Let's talk about Amerigeddon, which is available at InfoWarsStore.com exclusively right now for the next week or so. You get 2 copies, and you get 2 free films with it.
Yeah, and this is an important movie because it's fact-based. We tell a story about an EMP attack, an electromagnetic pulse attack on America that shuts down the grid. And our Congress has warned that if this were to happen, 90% of the American population would die in 12 months. To quote Henry Kissinger, the only thing standing in the way of a new world order is a strong America. One of the ways that they can diminish America quickly and severely is to allow for an EMP attack on this country. And in light of the events and things that are happening, I'm afraid this is a very likely scenario. So I made a movie about it. It's an entertaining movie, but it's fact-based.
People are getting the director's cut that is even bigger than what you see in theaters. And so this is the first look director's cut.
You know, Hollywood has tried to diminish the final edit on this thing, but what Alex has available here at his website this week is everything.
The most hardcore version.
Yep. So this is a great place to acquire the movie and then to show it to your friends and family and even your churches.
That's right. You can get 1 copy of the film Amerigeddon on DVD at InfoWarsStore.com exclusively right now, or get a second copy, 2 copies for $39.90, and get my first film, America Destroyed by Design, and then one of my latest, most powerful films, Fall of the Republic, that breaks down everything currently happening, free. 2 films free when you purchase 2 Amerigeddons, and I'm doing that because I want to get this film out. Another big thing people can do, if you really want to reach a lot of people, get 2 copies, keep 1 for your own archive to share, take the other and donate it to the library. So many people are smart because they've closed all the video stores. I was reading an article about this in the Wall Street Journal about a year ago, that what's the most popular now at libraries is not the books anymore, but is people going and actually checking out the DVDs, the Blu-rays, all that. And so that's why you make a donation of this to your library. You're going to talk about hundreds of people that are going to check that out and watch it. That is amazing. All of that. I can't tell you how many listeners we run into on the street that found this show, not on a local AM or FM station, but over the internet over the years, because somebody gave them a DVD or somebody gave them a card with forbidden information, Infowars.com, or they saw a bumper sticker, and it's just exponential. It's exponential. I can't imagine where Infowars will be in a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I just pray to God that I can be humble and focused and make the right decisions with this great responsibility. But it's not just Alex Jones. It's what Gary Haven's doing. It's what Matt Drudge is doing. It's what WorldNet Daily's doing. It's what people like Donald Trump are doing. We all are just choosing to not be with the New World Order.